Hey guys, welcome to Truth Talks, the show where we break down the lies, lift up the truth, and call out the system that was never even built for us. They tell Black folks to vote harder and budget better. But what about the billionaires who are writing the rules for themselves? Is America actually a republic or just a business with a flag? We're calling out the elite power networks that run this country while the rest of us play by the rules and lose. They don't follow. We need to follow. It's not right. And we're going to talk about it today. Who really runs America? And is it time to weaponize our influencers to gain more power for us? We're going to name the names and break it all the way down the way we always do. This ain't CNN. It's truth and justice for the culture. We're up right now. Let's go. Truth Talks.
Are y'all ready to roll? Let's go.
Welcome, truth tellers, to another amazing episode of Truth Talks. Let me bring in my amazing guest co-host. First, one day off of Father's Day, my fellow co-father, Dimitri Wiley, raising the next generation up right. How are you?
I am blessed to be here. I appreciate that lovely introduction. And I didn't get to tell you, but happy Father's Day to you as well, Mr. Torrey.
Thank you, sir. I want to bring in my amazing guest co-host, Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, who said amazing things about her father on the show to where I could practically see him in my mind. So thank you for that gift.
Yes, happy late Father's Day to my two amazing fathers who happen to be my co-hosts. I love y'all, and it has been a pleasure working with y'all and seeing y'all be Papa Bears with your amazing kids and kid for Dimitri. But listen, True Tellers, it's your favorite doc. It's Dr. Bryant. You guys know I'm coming with the smoke. There are some topics today that really have me pissed off, and we ain't even started to unpack the shit. So I'm going layer back a little bit, but when it's time, you guys know I'm about to totally fire it back up. But hey, back to you, Torrey. Back to you.
We want all that smoke. And with us today, Judge Lauren Lake. Welcome to the family. How are you?
Oh, thank you so much. So happy to be here. I am well. Happy Father's Day yesterday. I hope you enjoy your day, and happy Heavenly Father's Day to my father as well. Miss him dearly. So I'm glad to be on, and I'm with Dr. Cheyenne. I'm about ready. Okay.
Judge Lake, I see a lot of degrees behind you. Is that an Emmy behind you as well?
Yes, sir. For Lauren Lake's Paternity Court. Best legal courtroom show, maybe. I think that was 2018 or 19. Yep.
And you're about to have another legal court show on the air again.
Well, now we're going into season 3 on We the People. Yes, syndicated. So excited about that. Byron Allen and the team. So we're really excited for our next season.
I love that. All right, let's get into some trending truths brought to you by our friends at the Playpad in Atlanta, the only indoor playground for the community. We super appreciate their support for Truth Talks and what they're doing for the community in Atlanta. So represent for the Playpad. A great place for the kids to go. Look, they finally got open season to kill us? What? In response to Trump sending the National Guard and the Marines to police the ICE protest in LA, a Florida sheriff held a press conference where he said if people in his community are protesting ICE and they attack a police officer in any way, they will be killed. He said law enforcement would, quote, kill you graveyard dead. And when we play the clip of this man talking, your jaw, if you haven't already seen this, your jaw may be on the floor because it is so disgusting and so provocative about if protesters become violent, what they will do, which is deeply American, right? Can we see that clip?
If you resist lawful orders, you're going to jail. Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail tired because we are going to run you down and put you in jail. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and in jail. If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs that we have here. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, We will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead. We're not going to play. This has got to stop.
Wow. It strikes me as kind of gross. Dimitri, does this embolden and empower law enforcement and give them a sort of legal avenue or an encouraged avenue to attack Black and brown people? Because, of course, the Black and brown people at any protest he's talking about are more vulnerable than the white bodies.
To me, this has nothing to do with law enforcement. This is seriously just a group of people more interested in fucking lynching Black America. This is exactly what we've always seen it seems like a Ku Klux Klan member dressed in a fucking uniform. He on TV smiling at Black people to provoke them just to get put in the fucking dirt. Like, make it make sense. You can hear it in his voice. He don't even see protesters. He see a problem that needs to be erased. He see what America's always fucking saw in Black America. And the sickest part about it is he's sitting there and he's smiling, and he knows he's protected by the exact same system he works for. Because when you got a badge in America, Black pain is just part of your job for some reason.
Dr. Bryant, what do you think about the way that he's seeming to tell the officers it's okay to be violent to protesters, and telling protesters you should be prepared and accept this violence we're going to visit on you?
Yeah. So my opinion may be unpopular, and y'all know I don't really give a fuck. I didn't hear that, Torre. What I heard him say was that there is a First Amendment that allows you to a peaceful symbol of a protest. Does not allow you to break the law. What I heard him say was, we as officers and law enforcement are here to enforce the law. So if you break the law, which is breaking your First Amendment, then the law will be enforced against you. What I heard him say was, if you spit, if you hit, if you point a gun, if you blow up a car, if you set something on fire, those are all laws that you're breaking. He clearly said you have a right to a peaceful protest. He said, I don't mind you. Protest all you want peacefully. That is your First Amendment. Your First Amendment does not include you attacking, disrespecting, or breaking the law on anybody, including an officer. My brother has been in law enforcement for 14 years, and he's out here on the LA streets. If he's out here and somebody points a gun at him, spits on him, or breaks a law against him, my brother has every fucking right to enforce the law. These officers that are out here are not here to be disrespected. They're not here to be threatened. They're here to do a damn job. Protesters are supposed to respect their First Amendment, which is the right that they have, which is to have a peaceful assembly. And law enforcement is there to do what? Enforce the law. I am not condoning police brutality, but I'm also not condoning officers who are out here doing their job rightfully, not the ones who are racist, not the ones who have a horrible intention, but the ones who are doing their job rightfully, to be disrespected in a way that is breaking the law against them. Period.
I think that's a really important point, that we should not, and it's ACAB all day, but we should not be purposely provocative toward police officers. Obviously, we should not be pointing guns at police officers. We should not be violent toward police officers. That is obviously against the law and inappropriate in most situations. But what I have found in the real world, I've been to many protests, as I'm sure you have, that quite often it is the police who are provocative in those situations, that the police are quite often the first ones to strike at a Black or brown body. So now in a situation where the police are being provocative and they are the gang with the jail keys and the gun and the badge, and they're telling you, if you return the violence, if you return to honor, then we will be violent, and we will be, the police should be acting in a posture, Lauren, of protecting the community and not promising the community, we will be violent toward you.
Yes, exactly. And while he thinks he's setting the tone, what I read between the lines was setting the wrong tone, right? As I heard him spew these words, I'm thinking to myself, this is some type of plantation pontification going on here. Okay, this is not how we set the stage. The underlying energy under his words, which is what was problematic to me. No, we do not need to be purposefully provocative towards the police, but the same has to be returned to the public. And what we see too often, and I'm a former criminal defense attorney, and what we see too often is if the police are aggressive, once then the crowd either puts their hands up or tries to do something, then all of a sudden they can claim, I felt threatened, and the next thing you know, it escalates. We have got to do a better job, as Dr. Cheyenne said, protecting our First Amendment rights. However, it requires our police and our sheriffs to be a part of that protection and not the provocation.
Let's listen to his video again, because I do want to listen to it. I think Dr. Bryant brings up a great point in terms of he does clearly want to protect his officers. But I think also there is an aggressive tone where he seems to be like a gang member, like, we will kill you. But I do respect what you're saying, Dr. Bryant, as far as his officers should not feel or be threatened when they are on the job. But quite often they are threatening. But let's listen to the sheriff one more time.
If you resist lawful orders, you're going to jail. Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail timed, because we are going to run you down and put you in jail. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and in jail. If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail, and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs that we have here. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead. We're not going to play.
Judge Lake, he said blocking an intersection. Is that a crime? Because that's something we saw.
This is the part. If you try to peacefully block an intersection, we're going to run you down. Now,
that's not okay.
Come on. That's where the what you're reading between the lines, and this is where it gets super problematic. It's setting up a hair trigger response energy for officers, right? For even the officers to not go into the situation with a level head, with discernment, with trying to evaluate each situation. No, it's already setting officers up like, look, anything you don't like, anything that starts jumping off we don't like, boom, we taking it from 0 to 10. That is not how it should be done.
Dimitri.
Absolutely. It's the hair trigger responses like you claim. It sounds like the opening words of a Ku Klux Klan meeting that says, oh, we can't get them legally, so we're going to make it legal. And that's exactly what the fuck going on. And people got to listen to how he's describing these things. My big, beautiful dogs, yeah, they're going to bite you. And you're proud of this. You're proud that you can now have access to legally bash on the people you hate so much and get away with it. It's disgusting to me. This isn't protect and serve. This is terrorize and target. That's all this is. And just because you are set to protect, you create the rules that say, I felt threatened, which is also the problem, because all you got to say is, I felt threatened. Now you can whoop everybody's ass out here. We're talking about death. Like he's talking about killing people. This is insane. Insane.
Yeah.
This is my thing, right? When we're doing protests, right? And as NAACP president, I have organized protests with law enforcement. The point of protest, that's why it's a First Amendment. And that's why it's called peaceful. It's because you're out there to send a message. You're out there fighting for rights. You're out there so that you can change laws and influence lawmakers. You're not out there to break laws. You're not out there to ruin your city that you're protesting in. You're not out there to bash the windows of businesses. You're not out there to ruin a city that you are protesting to be able to have a right to be in. You are protesting to be able to have laws that are changing that will work for your rights. So when you're doing that, you also have to lead by example by not breaking laws that you already know are going to be enforced. When we protest, when you're talking about blocking off streets, we had streets blocked off by law enforcement, by the city council member. So that's called an organized protest. We didn't go out there and make sure that while we are trying to fight for the rights of ourselves and our citizens and our neighbors, that we were blocking out people from getting to their kids, blocking out people from getting to their jobs, blocking off freeways so that people can't get home from work, single parents, single fathers, single mothers who actually have some place to go, who actually have kids. There has to be a duality of understanding that, yes, protest your freaking butt off. I am for it. I've been out there as NAACP president, protesting, organizing it. But there's also a way to do it where your message is loud and clear and you're not demising the message by breaking laws. So now everyone's focus goes on, there's laws being broken. There's officers who are coming on doing interviews and doing press conferences about laws they're trying to enforce. Let's keep the main thing the main thing. So when we're on media, when we're on TV, they can say, look, we got these group of people protesting about this message. We got this group of people protesting about that message. And let's push the policies we're trying to change. We are allowing them, and I'll wrap on this, we are allowing them to take our message, our amendment, what we're protesting for, our loud voice, and make it about them, and make it about law enforcement, and make it that there's laws being broken, so we have to enforce it this way. And we all have seen protests that do get out of hand, where it turns from a protest to where now you have blocks and blocks of businesses who are bashed, vandalized. These businesses have to tap into insurance policies, have to tap into their own pockets. And now we have a city that's not just protest, but it's ruined. That's where I have a problem with it.
I just have to say this. Dr. Cheyenne, you are not wrong, but two things can be true, right? Every single thing you said can be true. Even protesters blocking streets without permits, generally illegal. You can't just, like you said, block it so people can't get home, people can't get to work. But the response to blocking a street cannot be automatically, that is a death sentence. That because you're blocking a street, right, which, although illegal, that now we have license to kill you, to run you down. I think we have to be careful about the language we're using. Words are so powerful. They're so powerful. And the words he used here, I don't think they weren't words of responsible leadership. They were words to incite an energy and a level that never ends up going well. And last point, when people ask all the time now, why aren't Black people pouring out in the streets? You need our leadership. It's sheriffs like this using these words. Our people know that lingo. We know that cadence, right? And what that means that when we get out there, we know we all dying and going to jail. So we play chess and not checkers here. Because once we get in these streets, the streets going to be operating a whole lot differently. And we heard that in what he said. That is what was written in between those lines.
Yeah, I totally hear that. I have been in a lot of protests where white people will form a line together between the Black protesters and the officers who are standing in a menacing way. Because even they understand that that the officers will be less likely to touch or attack their white bodies than ours, right? I mean, like, how insane is that we need a wall of whiteness to protect us from the officers who are there to protect and serve us? And we are in a moment of protest, which is so deeply American. For them to be destroying that moment, to me, just really cuts against the core of what America really is. And Dimitri, I know this is probably a little bit harder for you because you're probably dealing with the police on a day-to-day level a little bit more than the rest of us as a younger Black man.
Absolutely. Being on the west side of Chicago, growing up, being born and raised up, it's just amazing to me. It's amazing what you see. You have to, and I want to encourage everybody who's watching this to be very, very careful, because when we protest and we riot and we want to do anything peaceful, it becomes violent on their end. But when they do it, they're escorted. They're released from prison. They're all these other things. So just be very mindful of how you show up. That, just like to Dr. Brian's point, how you show up matters as well. It may save your life.
Okay, I was going to say, because Dimitri, you said a word that is powerful. There's a difference between protest and riot. That is the fucking problem. When we get people out there, and this is not a race thing. Let me tell you, you have white people that start riots. and create riots and are vandalizing. This is just not a black or brown thing. But when you and folks allow a protest to turn into a riot or looting, that is not the purpose of a protest. That is what bleeds our message. And it allows law enforcement to make a mockery over our First Amendment to protest. If we're protesting to push for lawmakers to do something different, for example, immigration going on right now, right? We don't have the time. We don't have the space to negate or detour to allow lawmakers to take media, our most powerful way of communicating to people, and make it about, look at these people who are protesting. They're looting. They're rioting. This is not a protest. This is not peaceful. We don't have the space to do that. We got to make sure we keep the fucking main thing, the main thing. We are not okay with this. Our message is this. We are protesting about this. We have signs, we have speakers, we are loud about it, and we are getting our point across. We don't have time to be there to purposely break laws. Now, I'm with y'all. I'm with Judge, and I'm with Torre. I get what you're saying. I'm not speaking to the officers who were intentionally saying, look, while I'm out here, I'm going to provoke. I'm going to be racist. I'm going to push the throttle. I'm going to rub it in their face. We understand we have some that are like that, but we have to make sure as people that we are pushing our message, that we have our eye on the prize, that we are doing things so that they can't and don't have a reason to take away more of our rights than they've already taken away. That's my point. Because looting and rioting is not a protest. It's not.
No, I appreciate the point. I think you're right that looting and rioting is not usually part of a protest. There is a value, some situations, for the community to engage in property violence, but there's way too often that we have thousands of peaceful protesters who are purposely provoked by the police, who understand exactly what you're saying, that the violence seems to discredit protesters. So the police officers are purposely provoking them into violence. So then media shows clashes between police and protesters rather than talking about the protesters' actual message. The police are using violence to discredit the protesters, right? So we shouldn't have violence, but we shouldn't have police creating the violence in these situations. And quite often, I think the looters are almost never the people who went out to protest. They are opportunists who understand, oh, the police are busy over here. I'm going to go over there, right? I'm going to take advantage of the situation. It's never somebody who cares about immigration or Black Lives Matter who's like, I'm going to take this opportunity to go rob the Apple store while I'm here. And there are absolutely paid professional agitators, quite often sent in by law enforcement. We have identified this in Ferguson and in other places where people who are not part of the protests will be breaking windows or creating property violence, property damage in order, again, to discredit the protesters. Why weren't they talking like this on January 6th? That's part of what you start to wonder, that when it's white people mobbing and rioting, that is understandable. But when it's even the promise of Black people, and this isn't even like a BLM protest, this is a protest against Trump in general.
If my Black ass, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ms. Lee. Go ahead. You do it.
Oh, no, I just had to say, where was this entire argument on January 6th? We still to this date in 2025 ain't heard nothing about how all of the insurrectionists on January 6th should have been mowed down, dead. You can't go looting. It clouds your message. You can't be a riot. You can't block a street. You can't invade the Capitol. You can't threaten to hang the vice president. Like, nobody putting down the law on then. Where was Mr. Plantation Pontification on over there? Okay? Where was he then? I didn't see him.
But I guarantee you, if my Black ass was out there, I wouldn't be sitting right here right now. That's a fact, because it's less about what you do and more about the color of your skin.
And you know what happened?
What you do is about who doing it.
And you know what happened was Trump pardoned the folks that were at the Capitol. He didn't just say y'all ain't gonna get run. And this is why I said on one of our episodes, Torre and Demetria, I don't know if y'all remember, I said the real niggas was them niggas at the Capitol. See, niggas ain't a race. Them was niggas. Them was gangsters. Those were thugs that were at the Capitol when they want to talk about who niggas are. That's what it was. But hold on. But in Trump's in his perspective, he's pardoning all the niggas. I hope y'all get what I just said about that, because he's still doing that in his mind. In his mind, he's still pardoning all The niggas.
He's pardoning the people that like him. Like that is, it's the alignment, right?
Yeah.
When your violence, your intention align with my value, then it's okay. That is subjective, not objective. And police and sheriffs should be operating under an objective standard of reasonable, deadly force. Do I reasonably, as a police officer, feel like my life is in danger? It was reasonable on January the 6th to feel like the vice president's life was in danger. Nancy Pelosi's life, people's lives were in danger. It was reasonable. And yet nothing was said. I mean, at a certain point, I'm gonna calm myself down today because I'm wearing my little yellow jacket and I'm getting hot. It's a sweater material. I'm gonna calm myself down, but it's an insult on our intelligence, right? It's almost like you're seeing a blue sky and somebody's telling you it's purple. And it's how long you gonna sit and argue about a blue sky when you know it's blue and they trying to tell you it's purple? We already know what the deal is. That's why when you get up there talking about what you gonna do if anybody steps out of line, we already know who you wanna do it to.
Yeah, see that part, because Black protest, especially in the last decade, has been incredibly important and valuable for Black people.
100%.
The George Floyd situation would have been swept under the rug, but for people going out in the street and saying, no, not this time. The Ahmaud Arbery situation would have disappeared if not for Black people getting in the street and marching and saying, no, not this time. And there's other situations where we have gone in the streets and said, no, not anymore. And we have made a difference. And if we have a situation where Black people feel afraid to protest because we are afraid that this sheriff or this officer might shoot or kill us, or just deprive our liberty, just arrest us for nothing. That is very chilling and frightening, that we need the ability to be able to stand up and protest when our people are wronged. All right, let's move on to politicking. Another wild story. The new mayor of Tulsa, Oklahoma, Monroe Nichols, has proposed a $105 million reparations plan for the descendants of the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre. This plan, which he calls a road to repair, involves some good things: establishing a charitable trust to provide funding for housing, scholarships, and historic preservation in the Greenwood District, which was the epicenter of the Tulsa Massacre. The plan focuses on community redevelopment. It does not include direct cash payments for descendants. It's been over a century since insurrectionists burned Black Wall Street to the ground. Look at the horror. Look what they did to a thriving Black community that was minding its business, that was doing its thing, that had an amazing community and economy going on. They burned it to the ground purely because of white supremacy, killing hundreds, stealing generational wealth, and burying the truth. Mayor Nichols has proposed $105 million, and he calls it a reparations plan. But if we're not paying the people, what are we talking about? My man Godfrey had a lot to say about reparations on DJ Vlad's show. I love Godfrey. He's funny, but he's also smart. So let's look at this. It's a long clip, but I really appreciate what Godfrey is talking about here about reparations. I want to get into it and then talk about reparations and Tulsa on the other side.
I love every Black person in this country to get $1 million check and 100 acres of land. Absolutely. Are they owed that amount? 100%, if not more. Black people who would get that, it would bankrupt the whole country.
For the people that built the country to make you the fuck money, all of a sudden now you worried about being bankrupt when you spend trillions of dollars on defense, trillions of dollars on unnecessary, trillions of dollars to send Black men, especially to jail, trillions of dollars to drug the fuck up our whole country, trillions of dollars to fuck the food up, to fuck the air up, to fuck the water up, trillions of dollars to make people sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker in this country, but you mad? We don't have the money because plain and motherfucking simple, you do not like Black people. It is very obvious. For hundreds of years, we've been the most hated. Within that hatred comes the hypocrisy of loving our culture. You've made trillions off of our motherfucking culture. White musicians, all of them have made money off of Black fucking culture. All of rock, all of jazz, all the shit we created from the oppression, which is in itself. The oppression and the fucking abuse and the rape and the putting down of us, we create blues, jazz, rock and roll, reggae, ska, We invent all of that shit. And to top it off, we invent all the mod that you all use. From the video game cartridge, Henry Lawson. We got the pacemaker, Otis Boynton. We have the late Dr. Bath, who created the laser eye surgery. We have Dr. Gladys, who's still alive, who's almost 80 years old, who created GPS. We have the guy who created the algorithm for Instagram, who's a 21-year-old Ghanaian kid. We've done all this shit. Then the internet was discovered by a Nigerian guy in the 80s. Like, we've done all of this innovation, even though we've been shit on and continue to be shit on every motherfucking day, right? Because nobody wants us to live anywhere. Nobody wants us to have this unless we're playing sports for them athletically or sexually satisfying. All black people are good for. We're supposed to be at people's beck and fucking call when they want us to entertain them or make them some kind of money. But if we ask for being autonomously wealthy on our own, being autonomously having our own shit, all of a sudden everybody pitches a bitch. Everybody has a fucking hissy fit.
Lauren, I love Godfrey. I love how he combines politics and the comedy, but I think there's two questions here. And Lauren, I want you to start to deal with this first. Is Tulsa's plan actually reparations? That's one question. And do we as a people deserve reparations? That's a separate question. Lauren, you first.
I would say a form of reparations, and yet still feels like a consolation prize, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
And that's what's problematic about it, right? Because again, back to our intelligence, it's an insult on our intelligence to think that these programs, anything, even a free college education, which I think Godfrey later suggested, could in any way amount to the amount of wealth that would have been associated with those 40 acres. I can't take it. I'm out here in LA, and I remember following the Bruce Beach story, the family who, I followed that story. I don't know why I couldn't get it. I used to go over there and put my feet on that earth and pray for that family, because just looking at that land, looking at what was on that land, and if I'm being very honest, thinking about how much we paid for the Airbnb that we stayed at near that land.
Come on.
And to think about the fact that it was our people's land, how do you quantify that? And any little stick, you know what I mean? It's like any little thing you give. It's like when a kid wants something, right? I want this thing. And then you trying to give it, no, here, play with this little ball. It's like, no, I had a whole house. I want the whole playroom. That's what I feel like Black people feel like. And I'm going to be very honest with you. I don't have the answer. I've thought about this for long and hard, because I wanted to say, like, you know what, this is what we need, and this is what we need. And everything I could come up with, it does feel like a consolation prize. I mean, even the college education, is big of a proponent as I am of education, born of two PhD educators, college educators. I'm thinking to myself, now they want to give college degrees away when we all about to be replaced by robots. Now we want to give college educations away when all of us, let's be honest, kids are graduating from college every day. They can't get a job. So will that really repair reparations? Will it in any way repair the harm done? I don't think we've really gotten to a place where that's happened yet. I want the land. I get my own mule.
Hello.
Give me my land.
I love you, Lauren. Doc, go.
Listen, first of all, hell fucking no, it's not reparations. Second of all, hell fucking yes, we deserve reparations. Why is it not reparations? Because the BS that they're talking about spending this money on, y'all, is called community redevelopment. Let me enlighten our viewers. Community redevelopment is paid by our taxes that we pay as tax consumers. It's also paid by specially tax funded programs and grants and voter approved initiatives. So why are you using our fucking reparation money to pay for things that we, if we're taxpayers, are already paying for? So wait a minute. So you're double taxing us. What you're doing is saying, I'm going to use your tax money to do what we are supposed to do to create public safety, create public policy, to create public places for the public to enjoy. Right? It is our job to use your tax funds for the schools, K through 12, for the roads, for beautification, and for things such as preserving the historic buildings and the historic beauty of a city. That comes with grants initiatives. But hold on. We're going to double do it. We're going to use your tax money to do it, and we're going to use your reparation money to do it. Then we can say we gave you something. We repaired you. You ain't repaired a motherfucking thing. But the city that you're supposed to repair, that we live in, that we pay taxes for, take that bullshit and take it somewhere else, because it's not going to cash at my bank. What needs to be done is to what my sis, Judge Lauren, said. Run us our check. We tired of having the conversation about it. We're tired of fucking fighting about it. You told us to do research on why we deserve it. Guess what, Torre? Guess what? There was a whole freaking bill, a whole funding by our senator, our California State Senator, Senator Bradford, who raised the funds to do the research, to get the data, to prove, to get right. For you to have a clear understanding, because you act like you don't get it, but you're so damn smart, all you legislators, all you politicians, for you to understand why in the fuck we deserve what you took from us from the fucking first beginning. Run us our check. Listen, like my sister, it can be in land. You can Cash App it, Venmo it, or Zelle it. Run us our check, okay? But what we don't want is for you to beautify our cities when that is what I as a taxpayer pays for. No, I don't want it.
I think Cheyenne's absolutely right in that, on both sides, that Tulsa, what we're talking about is not reparations. Reparations comes from the federal government directly to the people, right? Other races have experienced this in this country and other countries. When the federal government, which was part of enslaving us, pays us, give me a check. Whether or not you think I have money, I'm upper middle class, lower middle, whatever, give me a check because I'm a descendant of American slaves. And because we can explain directly the economic impact that the slaves had on America, which transformed America into the largest and greatest economy in the world. We are the reason, because you had free labor producing the world's most important crop at that time, cotton. America became the greatest economy in the world. So all economic success derives from us. So we deserve a check. The wealth inequality between Black and white people will never be dealt with until you give a direct cash payment to us from the federal government. You're right that Tulsa is saying, we're going to use your tax dollars and call it reparations. But we already paid for that shit. You should, Dimitri, they should already be doing the stuff in the community redevelopment. It's not actually reparations, it's repairing, but it's not reparations.
Absolutely. Imagine having fucking a large amount of credit at a store and they be like, we're gonna give you the 10% off. We don't want motherfucking 10% off. The thing about it is they treat us like we stupid. Reparations is far from charity. And they want to make it seem like we're begging for anything. Like don't look me in my face and promise me no goddamn scholarships and housing programs like you're doing me a favor. It's not a favor. You stole this land. Like this was taken. You destroyed families. You burned wealth. You did all these things. And now you want to sit in my face and tell me about a developmental plan disguised as reparations. Don't just slap a name on an old trick and expect us to smile. The thing about it is, it's not that we're not eating currently. They're treating us like we're starved. That's the problem. They're still treating us like we're starved. So they feel like they can force feed us anything. No, we want what we're owed. And my Cash App ain't working right now. So if they can sell it to me, that'd be cool. You know what I'm saying?
Cash at me. I'll give it to you, brother. I got
part of the problem, I think, with reparations for the larger community, the soon-to-be minority community, but certainly the larger community, that some Black people have had success. So there is a Black middle, and upper middle class and a very, very tiny Black upper class. But when you can name 4 or 5 rich Black people, a lot of white people are going to be like, well, why should we give them? Why would Oprah get a check? She's the descendants of slaves. Her life was impacted by being a descendant of slaves. She succeeded, but why should she get a check? Why should Spike Lee get a check? And we could make that argument, but the success of some Black people, it makes it hard for other races to say, oh yeah, they should be getting checks.
Well, look, can I just jump in here? Because that is so true. And that's part of the okie doke. And to the point that everybody was making about, you mean they're just going to take our tax dollars and try to do something for us? Even if they gave us a check, they still just really giving back money we already paid into. Like, that's the okie doke we can't get away from, right? That's why I was telling you last night, I was sitting long and hard going, what would be good enough? Because the other okie doke is now, if they even gave us the land, you know they're not going to teach us how to pay taxes on the land. 70% of the land they're going to take back anyway, because we haven't been landowners. We don't understand those responsibilities. We may not have the income or know how to generate that. They'll be taking the land back for failure to pay taxes. So you guys, this is such a complex issue. And it takes me back to while the community revitalization and maybe some of the plans in Tulsa are a form of repair. Like I said, it's a form of reparation, but it's a consolation prize and not the reparations we know we want and we know we deserve. But to Godfrey's point, if we ain't gonna never get it, do we need to start thinking creatively about what else we would accept? That's the question, right? Are we cutting off our nose despite our face? Are we not taking the crack in the door and blowing it open and saying, okay, let's start here, let's grow it to here? And I had to stop and think about that at my 56 years of age, right? As I have a 14-year-old son going to college soon. Like that college education thing to me was like, And then I thought to myself, well, I've been suffering through private school for a while and I got college on my belt. If that could be free, if that could be free, could that help me build wealth over here? And I'm only challenging the thought that immediately, crushes anything that is not that land and that check we want, because we could go on for another 4 generations and not get nothing.
Doc,
so how do we think about it?
Doc, I think about that Chappelle's Show sketch where they said, okay, we're giving everybody reparations and, it's comedy. But the joke was, niggas spoiled all the money right away, right? They spent all the money on bullshit right away. Oh my God, I have a ton of malt liquor or a ton of t-shirts or whatever, a ton of Jordans, whatever. And I don't totally believe that. I think quite often we are in economic trouble because we make less money than other people. I don't think we have some inherent inability to handle money. But you do wonder, in a community where we don't have a history and a tradition and a communal knowledge of how to deal with a large amount of money, would some people ruin their reparations check if they were to get one because I don't know what to do with this money?
Reparations means to repair. What you just said and Judge Lauren just said about financial literacy and education on money management and land management and real estate and taxes, that should be a part of the reparation that comes free. Hold on. Repair means you repair the trauma.
Yes.
Hold on. The psychological impact, the division between our families. Hold on. The breakage within our historical lineage, our education disparity, our health disparity, the marginalization that we experience in our community, the broken homes, the fact that some of us don't know where the fuck we come from. Let's keep it real. Some of us don't know what part of Africa did I come from. Me, I'm Black and Latina. Did I come from, is my lineage in half Mexico and half freaking South Africa? Am I from Ivory Coast? I mean, let's keep it real. A lot of people don't have that because it was ripped from us. So when you talk about repairing, they need to repair more than just monetization. It's more than just the land. You need to repair all of it. You need to have education for us free. You strip that from us. You need to have it to where we have education on family dynamics and systems, literary, on financial literacy, taxes, everything. How do we purchase a home? You gave us this land. What are the opportunities we could do with this land so we can create generational wealth that you took from us? How do we create businesses? How do we can we build a compound on this land? Can we build a hospital on this land? Can we get grants and tax brackets? Can this land be land that is aligned or is what am I trying to say? Is appointed by the school district? Because school districts can appoint land to you, and then you get grants, and then you get funding, and now you have generational wealth. They need to repair us on every motherfucking moving part that they destroyed us at. And it's a whole full circle. So we need the mule, the land, the education, the health, and all of that. Because remember, we have a whole, I know I'm getting off top for a minute, but we have a whole gonorrhea genocide that they did to us. Hold on, can you repair us from that? So what I'm saying is when we talk reparations, you didn't just take land. There's conversations that I have with my father's side who was Black. They can't answer. Repair me from that. I'm asking, where do we come from? I'm asking, what did it look like back in the day? Why is it that we don't have that knowledge? How come we can't have that at our family reunions? There's conversations we can't even have because of we are not repaired. Okay, hold on. There's identity crisis. There's police brutality. Listen, it'll take a whole 2-3 episodes before I run down how you need to repair all of us. There's a gender war going on right now between Black men and Black women. Can you repair that? You know that started in slavery days. You know you messed that up when you took our man out the house. You know you messed that up when the woman couldn't respect the man that you took out, that couldn't be a father, that couldn't be a husband, because you took that away and decimated our families. Repair that. Then we have a fucking conversation about if we feel like, if we in the mood to repair the city that you all benefit from most. I don't want to use my tax dollar to repair this shit. I'm good. I'll pass. There's a whole different conversation on how to repair us. And I don't want to use, I'll land on this. I don't want to use the federal tax money that I pay taxes to. How about this? Y'all create a grant that's going to come from something else to pay us what you deserve us. And when we walk in somewhere, I don't want to wait in line, because guess what? Handicapped, disabled people don't wait in line at the grocery store, at the DMV, and we get better parking. Wait a minute, Torre. What I'm saying is,
I was loving you till you analogize us with disabled people. We're not disabled.
Let me tell you why. Because we do have a disabled community and race of people that they created disabilities. When you're marginalized, when you're disparate, that's the disability. Disability isn't just physical and mental. Yeah. You have disabled and broken our community. So guess what? We need to be at the front of the line for all of these things that we're talking about. You don't have to agree. I'm not asking for your validation. What I'm saying is we deserve to be at the front of the line for all of these things. That's what reparation means. If I break it, I repair it. The entire thing, not some of it. Not some of it.
I'm not looking for a handicapped space for Black people,
Guess
but I do
what?
think we deserve a check.
For my mother,
and I do think that it is clearly morally owed to Black people that you ripped us from another country, you worked us for hundreds of years, you extracted so much wealth and labor from us for free. I don't even think about the 40 acres. I think about the hours that my ancestors worked for you for free. And let's start to figure out like what that is and how much wealth they generated. And then talk to me about paying me that. And I saw in the Godfrey interview, DJ Vlad's little question, that would bankrupt America? No, it would not, sir. No, it would not. We have trillions that we spend on defense. We could spend some money on the Black people in this country that we wronged, who continue to be wronged because of slavery. Okay, that was fantastic.
So to Teray's point, can you ask them to tell us where we all send our timesheets at? Where do we send our timesheets for these hours that you're talking about? Where's the timesheet department at, Judge? Where is the timesheet department? Where is it?
Let's move on to our main topic. Who the fuck runs America? They say we're in a democracy, but who is it for actually? In this episode, we're going to strip away the bullshit and try to figure out who are the real power players pulling America's strings, from billion-dollar lobbyists and shadow donors to Ivy League gatekeepers and corporate overlords. Who really runs this country? And is it time to weaponize our most powerful influencers? Now, there is a version of this question that you may learn in school about the separation of power. And I want to run a little video about that and talk about how that relates to who really runs the country. Can we see that video?
You know, I start tonight by congratulating the 118th Congress.
Who runs the U.S. government? Well, if you ask Hollywood, it's pretty clear. The president. He's meeting aliens, fighting off terrorists, and defusing bombs. But the reality is a bit more complicated. The United States is a country of more than 330 million people. It's also the largest economy in the world. Too much for one person to handle, so the load is split into three. First, you have the executive branch, which is the president and his secretaries. Then, you have the legislature, which is the U.S. Congress, and finally, the judiciary, which is the Supreme Court and its lower courts. Together, they run America.
So that's an idea of it all. Now, we know the real decisions are made behind closed doors by people we didn't elect, and we cannot hold them accountable. So we have a system that was never designed to care about us, that we are not part of, that controls us. So we want to talk about how wealth, whiteness, and legacy networks decide who gets freedom and who gets crumbs. And is America a republic or a business with a flag? Dimitri, in a world of lobbyists, legacy wealth, backroom deals, we have more Black billionaires than ever, but it seems we have less political power than ever. So who do you think really runs America? And I want everybody to really dive deep on that question and keep it real. Who is the real power in America?
Well, to me, a lot of people would be led to believe it's the president, but I don't believe it's the president. I think it's the people behind the scene who writes the checks for the president. I think the president is a poster child for a bunch of ideas, and they found a good one this time. I tell you, they found a fucking good one this time. But the thing about it is, every 4 years, we get hyped at the idea of, we tell people, go vote, go vote, go vote. We're really going to make a difference. We're really going to make a difference. But I don't know if we understand that the people who are actually in power, these billionaires, these lobbyists, all these other people, have never stepped foot in the hood where we from. I'm going to be honest with you, Torre. The mindset of a Black man in the hood, every year we go vote, but nothing changes. Every 4 years, we get a new president and nothing changes. We always sit and wonder why the hood still look the same way the hood look. Why the school's still closing around us. Why the food in the liquor store is always, in liquor stores and corner stores is always more snacks than it is fresh produce. Like we see this. And it's led us to believe that there's nothing we can do to change it. Because as much as there is a flourish of new Black billionaires and millionaires, XYZ, it doesn't matter until they get a meeting in them boardrooms, till they in the back of those green rooms having them conversations, developing policy. All of that is policy. And we've understood in the hood, that's a policy that our vote just isn't going to change, because it's not about who's in the White House. It's who's funding it. That's all that matters.
Lauren.
This is so tough because, I mean, look, I've been to a whole law school and got a whole law degree, and I would love to stand on the branches of government and say that's true. It just isn't. We just witnessed it in real time, this election cycle, where all of a sudden, out of the blue, despite all we've learned since fourth grade civics on up, Elon Musk stepped center stage into our government, into our lives, and pretty much functioned as the president until he got tired and his beloved company wasn't performing well. And it all happened, and nobody could stop it. Wow. Right? Nobody could even stop his control when he decided to get a little yappy and snap at the person who holds the office of president, right? There was a power there. And look, you know, as a woman, as a mother, okay, I'm looking at this one way. As a taxpayer, a voter, I'm looking at this like, well, I'll be damned. Right? Is this easy? It's who got the most money, has the power, has the voice. Yeah. That's what we saw. And not only that, I can tell you at the drop of a hat, if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't even have been elected. Connie, he hit him with that.
Come on, Lauren. Look, Lauren's absolutely right. The 1% is the actual controllers of the country, the Koch brothers, Sheldon Adelson, Elon Musk. The wealthiest of the wealthy are setting the policies and setting the directions and killing the policies and killing the directions that they want, and making sure that the country moves in the direction that they want. And it's quite dangerous to have the 1% controlling things. Their money, their donations are far more powerful than votes. And at this point, Dr. Brian, we have enough Black billionaires in the world, in this country, who could have an impact on our communities. But I can't really, I think we see, like, I have a foundation, I have a school, which seems like image protection. Like, we can't say you did nothing. But can I point to something where I'm like, Oprah, LeBron, Beyonce, Jay-Z, Byron Allen, they did this that changed America. They came in and they changed Flint. They came and they made a Black town. They completely changed. What have they done? Nothing. They have not done anything significant for us.
So who runs America are the folks who control it with their wealth. What I love about that image we just seen was a white guy who held a sign up that said, I can't afford a lobbyist. I am the 99%. Okay. Why is that powerful? Because when I say the billionaire families that control the America with their wealth, they are the ones who have media ownership. They are the ones that are making the biggest political donations with PACs, political action committees, meaning you don't have a cap on how much you can raise with the PAC and contribute to a campaign. Okay. With lobbying costs a lot of money, and that allows them to have corporate control. And so when we're talking about who runs America, it's the folks who are wealthy, the folks who can say, I'm going to start a PAC and I'm going to donate $4 billion in this PAC. Okay. And give this to the president that's in office. I'm going to give it to the state legislator because I'm going to need you to write policy that allows me to develop and do things in your jurisdiction, in your state, in your city, or in the nation at a level that allows the corruptness that I'm doing to be legal because I got you to be able to write policy or legislation that works for what I'm doing right now. And I only need this policy to last for a year or two until the project I'm working on has made me billions. Musk just did it with Doge. He just got in, got his coin, got his Doge, and then said, Trump, let's start an argument. Let's act like we're not getting along right now so I can cut it and hit stage left after I got my money. That's exactly what happened. And then I want to go on what you said, Tori. You said there's enough billionaires in America who should be able to help fund some things. Yes and no. There's only 13 Black billionaires in the U.S. There's 1.7 million Black millionaires in the U.S. So, and there's only 13.4% of us in this whole damn United States of America that are Black. So with the 13 Black billionaires to the hundreds of white billionaires that there are, our money starts to look like peanuts. I always talk about allyship. It does, sis. And we always talk about allyship. And then some people are for and some people are like, girl, allyship, forget these white people. No, there's only 13 billionaires, 1.7 millionaires. 13.4% of us are here in the United States of America as a percentile of a group of people. If we don't ally with these other billionaires who don't look like us and their money, we don't have enough money to write policy, to write legislation, to lobby, to have some wealth control. We have to be able to control at the level of two things: corporate level and the level of contribution when it comes to elected officials and politics. If we don't control politics with our wealth or the media or the corporate world, we are screwed. We always talk about being at the table, but being at the table only gives us an illusion of being a decision maker because they're put us in as a decision maker, but systemically, our decision doesn't even count for the shit that we're at the table for because the wealth and where the money is where it counts.
Lauren, she makes a good point that the money is able to control politics, and there aren't really that many Black people who can compete in that game. And when we have white people who are far outpacing us in their ability to pay and thus control politicians because of the money that they're giving, sometimes legally, sometimes illegally,
right?
That leaves us left out of the power conversation.
Oh, exactly. I mean, as Dr. Bryant was talking, I'm thinking to myself, yes, as you mentioned, Byron Allen, I just recently read that he finally settled the lawsuit against McDonald's about the access to advertisement for Black media outlets. And I mean, that's been in ongoing years. And I think about our billionaires who often are first generation billionaires, right? We're literally, we have not come from, 5 and 6 generations, right? I was just in Atlanta and took my son through the Coca-Cola dynasty down there in Atlanta, right? And it's fascinating to see how long that company has sustained itself through the generations. There are so few Black people that have experienced any of that kind of wealth. And as Dr. Bryan said, connection and access. What I think becomes clear even through the Byron Allen lawsuit, and that of course is something that I follow because my show, right, is a part of Allen Media Group. So I'm following this consistently, and I thought to myself, even in his position, he's still in a fight. Right? We see him as this incredible Black man that has reached billionaire status. And it is incredible, right? It is nothing short of incredible. And yet, just to be treated the same as other white media conglomerates, I have to fight. I have to go on a decades-long money draining fight to be able to, even Roland Martin has talked about it consistently. Like, where is the attention to Black media? It's real, and we're not getting the access that we think we are. So when we get the money, the access is what then gets the allyship. And to Dr. Bryant's point, if we can have the money without the access and then we have no allyship, we ain't going nowhere. And last point, allyship requires mutual consideration. Why do people, right? Unless we show them why our allyship is important, then they continue to neglect that. That's exactly what Target is going through right now. They had to see, they had to F around and find out, like the kids say, why our allyship, I mean, you know what I'm saying?
FAFO from LL. Hold on. Part of the problem is that we need to be lobbying more, and we have tremendous influencers who we could weaponize to use their power. They've been using it in culture. Maybe they should be using it more in politics. Maybe they should be using it more in terms of controlling or at least influencing politicians. We talk about, you know, our rich folks, Tyler Perry, Oprah, Magic, Jordan, whatever. Like, should they be funding lobbying so that we can get some of the ideas that we need? Dimitri, what do you think about that?
I think the idea of it is, absolutely. I think the thing about it is we watch our influencers, our celebrities stand up when it's about them. We watch them when it's time for an album release. We watch them when it's time for a fucking influencer deal where they're pushing a product in our face, telling us what to buy. But rarely do you ever see them stand up for culture. Now, there is exceptions where you've seen some people come out in March and you've seen some people do all of these things. But what I think when I see celebrities and what they don't understand is we're not asking you to save us. We understand this shit is not a movie. You cannot be a hero because you have more money. But what you do have is the same voice on a louder mic. We need for you to speak when it matters, not just when it's healthy for your pockets. Because as you've seen, as we all seen, every time an artist or an influencer got paid to come be at a Trump rally or fucking on a campaign, they was right fucking there. But when it's time to stand up for the exact same people you come from, you're only popular because of us, right? Now you act like you above us when it matters. That's all I'm saying. I ain't saying you got to come save the day. Please, that's not what I'm saying. Don't use your money to save other people's lives. We write our own stories. We can be the heroes of our own. But you either with the people who built you or you against the people who built you. And right now, we need you guys to help amplify everything we stand for.
Doc.
You mentioned influencers, right? This is the thing. Influencers are directly married to media, social media. That's why they're influencers. They're directly married to where the eyes are going to be on them. Unfortunately, I've gone viral hundreds. I've gone wildfire, double, triple, quadruple viral. I have lit up True Talks so many times about politics, policies, Black voice, Black think tanks and resolution and Black disparities and health marginalization and all that stuff, right? And out of all of these times, hundreds and hundreds of times I've gone viral, it's always on topics that will influence the viewers. Those topics don't seem to be the policies, the lobbying, the legislation, the politics, the who's in office, local or national. That is a problem. We talked about this on True Talks before about media and Black media, not pushing out the things that are going to educate our community on the things that will help us become better stockholders in policies, in politics that work for us. Myself and Marlon Wayne had talked about months ago creating think tanks together. We said, let's just do these big ass Zoom meetings, invite all Black people, but we're going to do it quietly, where only the who's of us Black folks, meaning everybody who's Black, is invited to these Zoom think tanks. But we were not going to put it on social media. We were not going to put it on media, right? And we were going to actually think tank about what we need in our community. How do we raise funds to lobby? How do we do this as a group of people who are strategizing? Now, we haven't executed it fully yet because it's taking more moving parts. But my point in saying that is, sadly, what influences the folks who are watching media happens to not be the shit that we need to talk about, happens to not be the things about reparations, about policy, about Black healthcare, about Black family. Unless I'm talking about the Black family system, you can relate to this being broken, or broken homes, or how Black men or Black women are not doing this, or gender wars, unless it's a negative narrative, guess what? It doesn't fucking get the influence. That's sad. Yeah. That's the problem. This is why Truth Talks is so important, because we talk in the truth that people need to hear to help them not only have a seat at the table, but be able to call on the folks they know, be able to learn what lobbying even is, to be able to learn what it costs to do that, and start to put together campaigns so we can lobby about things that work for us.
There's two sides, though, I think, because Trump and the right have somehow begun to understand culture and influencers, and there's your Aiden Rosses and these other white boys who are using their podcasts and their platforms, and these clowns, Miller and Bannon, who are able to speak to their community in a way that they understand. And, you know, we are dealing with Miller and Bannon's bullshit, but like, we need to be able to be in conversation with DC in a serious way. And not always are influencers who are amazing in movies or music or basketball or even in business, do they always know what to say or how to lead us politically? I don't know. I would rather see people who are activists, people who are political, people who deeply understand what that is about, lead the way in that. That was part of what was so powerful with Black Lives Matter, that you had young people who were incredibly thoughtful and knowledgeable about politics leading us. And we need to be speaking to DC through lobbying. So, I mean, I would welcome the Black wealthy giving us some money so we can have some lobbying power, but I want to see people who actually understand politics be involved in our political conversation.
And it not just be in the political presidential election cycle, that it extends, right? I think we go through these things where in the churches and all the politicians visit the churches, and just for that time, politics is on our plate. And the next thing you know, we're back to whatever the new conference is, whatever the new award show is. I also think it's important to note that influencers are tied to corporations, right, that pay them to promote a product. So now basically we've got a whole bunch of salespeople. And when do we trust salespeople? I mean, not to be funny, but it's the world we've created. It's something I've struggled with in my own life and career, where people, well, you should be an influencer. But I mean, well, hold on now. How many products I got to say I'm using that I ain't using? Because I get for a check, right? I mean, that's what we're out here doing now. Because then when the check starts coming in, you don't talk about that product no more.
Can we get you modeling robes? Robes, look,
well, that's something I really do wear. But I say that to say, and I think Kai, is it Sanat or Sanat? I'm gonna get in trouble. Sorry, my son. Sanat. Nice. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know who he is, but my son loves him. But he recently came. I do read though. So he said that he didn't take a check for the BET Awards appearance. He said, and I thought this was just wow. This young man got it. I didn't take a check for coming there, because a check is often associated or comes along with some type of corporate responsibility expectation that I don't want when I come somewhere. I want to be able to come and I want to be able to talk about it the way I want to talk about it. Can you imagine how many of our influencers, and all of us, let's be honest, who are employed by corporations where our livelihood is rooted in that, where you don't feel free to say exactly what you want to say, because at the end of the day, that's where your paycheck comes from. That's what we're going through.
You're absolutely right that the people we work for does constrain what we can say. And when you're Kai Cenat and you're paid by all the people watching your stream, you can say what you want. When you work at a corporation and your boss, Dimitri, is a billionaire, you may not want to be so critical of billionaires.
Which my boss is here on Truth Talks. No, but the thing about it is, I want to offer a different perspective. I understand the way you guys are looking at it. I see it. I get it. You want more political figures, but there's a difference. As I'm looking at our generation, and I'm a little more familiar with Kai than you may be, but the thing about it is, when you have influence, everything you do is influential. Okay, so what I mean is, you don't have to go viral with a post. Where you show up to, people show up to. It was an event in New York. They had to pull police out because Kai Cenat said, "This is where I'll be at at this time, and half of New York came outside. That's all I'm saying. It's about what you do. I ain't saying at the
He was
BET
giving away
Awards.
PS3s.
Since we were talking about the BET Awards, let's look at it. There was a moment where Kurt Franklin and Casanat came together. Mind you, Kurt Franklin is, of older age, and Casanat is almost technically still a kid. But they came together, he hugged him, and he said, Uncle Kurt. It's about the connection between the two. It's where it matters. And I don't think people understand that connection is powerful. If you get influencers who actually learning from politicians and can be courted in what to say and what not to say and where to be and what to do, it's powerful. That's all I'm saying. Fucking Glorilla just won a goddamn BT award.
A gospel BET award. She's not gospel.
And she ain't gospel at all. That's what I'm saying. Once you link that bridge together and get people, the influencers, in place where they need to be with people of political status, it could be something powerful. That's all I'm saying. Don't discount it.
Yeah. And I got to say to that point, I love that you said, Dimitri, because external influence gives you internal leverage. Glorilla's external influence gave her internal leverage to win a gospel John Ray award, where I like Glow, but she's not gospel. And the gospel community, John Ray, was going crazy. They're like, we love Glow. Anybody can praise, but she's not gospel. And I want to say this really quick because I want to give our Black folks just some tips on how do you gain some corporate leverage, some corporate power, right? Ownership. It gives you equity. Can you invest? Can you have stock in it? Can you own your own corporation? Climbing to the executive ladder. Can you become an executive, a CEO, a CFO, some kind of executive in that corporation that you're involved in? Build or lead your own powerful brand or product. Judge Lauren just talked about that, right? You, instead of being an influencer for these products, build or lead your own product and get influencers to influence that. Control your relationship, data, or capital. Meaning, if you're the owner, you control your capital. If you're the owner, you control your data. You also control your relationships. Lastly, you have to be able to influence the boardroom. Because at the end of the day, if you have no influence over the boardroom or decision makers, guess what? You have no fucking influence. And we have to learn how to do that and learn that once I influence the boardroom, that gives me external influence. I then have internal leverage. Let me learn how to use my internal leverage to work for the people who I want it to have the most impact on.
I also think that if you feel like that's a little above that great advice is a little above where you are, we can also think about finding folks in your workplace who are a little above you in terms of seniority and trying to get mentorship from them. And you don't even have to use the M mentorship word. Just ask them questions about how does one move up? How do I get up to the next level? Yep. And they may, if they're a friend, they may be willing to or able to give you some advice, some actionable advice that helps you start to move up. Because sometimes big leaps are hard, but small leaps up the corporate ladder or up the ladder at wherever you're at can be very helpful propelling your career if you can find that person who loves you enough and cares and respects you enough to give you the advice you need to keep moving up. That's our show for today.
Oh God, I'm so sorry. Before you go, I just had to say what you said was so important, overt and covert operations at the same time. We can't forget that we can work within the system and also outside of it. I think what you said was so powerful. I just wanted to echo it because I was so glad you said it.
Thank you. When I was coming up, I got so much out of like going into somebody's office and being like, hey, how do I get to be a little bit more like you? And asking questions upward, especially if you ask, this is for Dimitri, if you ask older people for their advice and wisdom, oh my God, they want to tell you.
I'm going to text you now, Torre. I'm going to text you now.
Especially the ancestors have the most wisdom. Ancestors have the most wisdom.
I'm going to text you right now.
And they got the insight. Think about our ancestors. While there was a whole enslaved people planning revolts, there was also someone working in that house that knew every move of that house to let you know when to run. It's both working in concert.
So, Lauren, I love that you said that. What Doc was doing was insulting us by calling us.
Not her.
We are the ancestors living here right now.
Oh, that's so funny. But you know what? I'm proud
Toray.
to be an ancestor. I'm 56
Hey,
and I'm
you
still
ain't no ancestor. You a fine auntie. Toray is an ancestor. He was either telling people when to run, how to run, or he might have been a house nigga. But he was definitely he's
Never that. Wow. Wow, I never got called a house nigger by someone lighter than me. Okay, here we go. That's our show for tonight. Like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube at Truth Talks Live, and continue to watch us simulcasting right here, Black Star Network, Roland Martin Unfiltered comes before us, and then Truth Talks. That's your evening schedule right there. Don't forget to support Black media at Cash App, Truth Talks Live, or any of the links that you see on the screen. We got to thank our supporters, Juanita Mahdi, Kyla Carr, and Benjamin Gobes for their weekly cash support for Truth. Thank you so much. And if you want to be in the credits with Benjamin, Kyla, and Juanita and get talked about on the show and maybe get a chance to be on the show one day, then hit that Cash App, show us your love, and help us keep this show going. You can also support us by advertising with Truth Talks, like our friends at the Play Pad in Atlanta, Georgia. We super appreciate their participation, their support. It's an amazing indoor play space for the community, for the culture. So take your kids there and have a good time. Small businesses and influencers partner with us by visiting truthtalkslive.com, like our partners at Hair Maniacs, who love Dr. Bryant and love taking care of her and making her look more beautiful. Their product is like, it's not just a hairline, it's a lifestyle. Doc, tell us a little.
honey. Must I say more?
Say less.
Must I say more, honey?
It looks nice.
Come
It's
on.
shiny.
It's shiny. And just hold on. Same hair from Hair Maniac. Just last week, I had this thing half up, half down in these beautiful luxurious curls. Hold on. The dog just straightened this same hair yesterday, slicked this thing in a ponytail. And you guys cannot tell me I'm not ponytailing, okay? I'm ponytailing and ponytailing you where to get this good hair. And then when I wet it, don't forget, it curls up wet. It matches my texture. Like, hello. Come on. Anyways. I'm back.
So you can manipulate it like real hair, like
oh my
curly,
God.
straight,
And look
whatever.
how, hold on. Does this not blend? This is my hair. You can't tell me this is not my hair. My hair is long, but this is, hold on. This is my hair.
Does it come in 3C?
Honey, I don't know the letter, but I can tell you this much. This is 32. 32 inches. 32 inches, a lot. Let me, never mind.
Does it come from men? Because I have a friend who needs some hair.
I hope 32 inches does not come from no man. That is far too many inches, Toray. Toray. I'm
Speaking of a man who could use some Hair Maniacs, if you click on any of our co-host rooms, you'll see Dimitri. You get a chance to meet him in Chicago.
I'm here. Come see me, girl. Hey, who donated? Juanita. Get on, girl. You better get on over there. You better, hey, don't let me. I'm sorry.
You better buy Juanita a Starbucks and keep it light.
I'm gonna get
Black media is under attack, y'all. Please keep supporting the show. Tell a friend to check us out every weeknight at 8 p.m. EST and on the West Coast, 8 p.m. PST. Next week, we're going to have my friend, the legal giant Ebony K. Williams with us. We will be back for you every weeknight at 8 p.m. We will see you tomorrow.